what we got today is we got our dustless blasting machine. This is one of the coolest machines we have in the shop because of the efficiency that it possesses. To put it in perspective, on a vehicle that may have UV protection or clear coat that's actually ruined, we know that we're going to have to take that down to a solid substrate, whether it be steel or aluminum, whatever else we might have underneath there as our solid substrate. In that case, that can take a ton of time to strip by hand with things, whether it be DA sander, probably our most common one that's there. For instance, before we had this machine, there was a truck that we did that had roof, cowl, hood, fenders, doors that all had to be stripped essentially because they had clear coat peeling off the tops of them at some place. It took us just shy of 3 weeks of class time to be able to sand that by hand. Versus we did the same style truck with the same style damage about 2 years after that. It took us 45 minutes to do with this thing through here. The efficiency of it is tremendous with it. I guess we don't want to overshadow the efficiency with the possible risk we can run of causing additional damage if we're not cautious. Our pressures that we have, our media that we use with it, how are we cleaning up afterwards? So we're going to talk about some specific products that we have to put on it to help prevent flash rust that occurs too. Before we get into the machine though, let's talk about our personal safety that we're going to have. A couple things for sure need to be some type of ear protection. Once we get this thing fired up, if the microphone will pick it up, it is ridiculous loud, very, very loud, both while you're blasting or even while you're standing by the machine over here. So whether you have earmuffs here, the ear plugs that we'll see through here, the foam style, have something on because it's very, very loud. Some type of respirator that's on. Although we're going to be using crushed glass, which has no risk of silica in it, if you were doing traditional sandblasting, which had silica sand in it, that silica dust is extremely harmful for you guys. We don't run that risk, but still, it's nothing I want to be breathing in, so this is really nice. And it helps whenever you're blasting too, you will have abrasives come bouncing back at your face. This kind of helps cushion that blow too that's there. Final one's going to be safety glasses. I've had some students that like to use actual facial shields, like the full, kind of like what a grinding shield would be like. I'm all for it. I'm not going to provide them for each one of you guys, but if you decide that you want one, I'm all for you guys having it. Biggest thing with safety glasses is keep them up tight. Keep them tight against your face because as it's bouncing back up at you, you don't want it to get underneath your glasses that's there. So if I got it through here, real easy to bounce off my cheek and get into my eye there. Tool-wise, it's pretty simple. Whenever we get into full setup, you're going to see exactly where we need them at. 3/4 inch wrench, 1/2 inch wrench that's here with it, and that will pretty much have us set up. In the back of this book, that Dustless Blasting is actually the company that makes Dustless Blaster, of course, but that is their official name too. First of their kind that was made with, first of this type of technology to come out with things too. I love that they give a book that actually breaks down everything from diagnosing issues, which we've used before. We've had some issues of just common wear items that wear out and what's going on, we don't know. The book does such a good detailed job of explaining that. It's also going to have colored pictures in it as well, which I really like because it just provides that context versus black and white. It has it. This is for our specific model, so it's not like it's a one-size-fits-all book. It's for our model only, our model that's there. In the back too, it also goes through the different types of materials that we might have, from aluminum oxide, crushed glass, which is what we're going to use, glass beads, silicone carbide, plastic adhesives, steel shot, steel grit, corn cob, walnut shells, just blasting media, blasting sand, sugar sand, garnet, soda bicarbonate, and coal slag. Honestly, we're only ever going to use crushed glass. That's what fits best for us. It's a medium etching type thing. The coolest part with it is it's going to tell us exactly what air pressure to run with it, which we'll cover once we're there. Once we get the blasting done, the risk of surface rust is high. We do not want to take the chance of it causing surface rust, or otherwise we're back to where we started at again. Whenever we put our mixture together, the final piece to the puzzle will be actually putting this anti-corrosive material liquid that's inside of that for while we're blasting, but our final rinse will also be with this. Once we do the final rinse, what we're going to have to do though is sufficiently dry all air, not halfway dry it, completely dry it to a solid, just a solid dry part. We have 3 days then before flash rust becomes an issue. Also, cool thing about it too is that promotes adhesion for all of our products that go on top. So at the end of this, I'm going to have, we'll just say a raw steel hood that's here. So bare steel hood that's here. I put that product on. What's going to be the product that I spray on top of? I really have two options that we use here. What would they be? Large areas of bare metal. Epoxy primer would be one of them. How many coats would we do? 1 to 2 is what we'll do with that, depending on what we're doing afterwards with it. What is the other one that we have? I think 2.0 and 2.2 tip. Evercoat Super High Build Primer that's there. More often than not, it depends on the damage. If that hood had a bunch of light hail dents that's in it, I'm probably definitely going to put the Evercoat High Build on it, and that's going to give me that blocking service. I may see half of those actually block out just from the mill thickness that comes with that. Otherwise, if it's in pretty good shape, it was just failing, the clear coat was failing with it, what we'll end up doing is 1 to 2 coats of epoxy. In that case, I'll probably do 2 coats of epoxy just because I'm going to then go into blocking it. I'd rather have a little bit of extra that's there, but never any more than that. So any other questions that we have so far? Okay, the next part we're going to go to then is going to be actually getting what we need into the tank. Very specific. This book will walk you all the way through it once again, step by step, which is awesome. The first thing that we have to put in is going to be 5 gallons of water. So we're just going to mix up a small batch. It will go into if we mix up bigger batches, but 5 gallons of water is what we'll use. 1 bat of media, 8 ounces of our anti-corrosion compound that's inside of that too. So that'll be our mix. I like to fully take everything out to make sure it's rinsed out properly. And by doing that, that leaves this guy here out. He needs to go back in. This is where the 3/4 inch wrench is going to come into play. Big thing with that is make sure that it is actually seated all the way up in there. I've seen it too many times where the students will get those in there crooked, and now you're causing failures on multiple points. You're going to cause the that kind of raised part there to like the feeder tube. You're going to cause that to get wore prematurely. You're going to cause the gasket to blow out. Make sure it's all the way up in there before you just start twisting it. And then once you have one on, the second one just twist on real easy. Three-quarter inch wrench for him. We are going for snug, not horse torque tight. We're going for snug on this. So I'm going to take it until it starts to provide that resistance, and I'm going to give it about another 1/4 turn on top of that. Do the other side. And then just go back and check that final side one more time just to make sure everything's even. Okay. This point here, that entire system's sealed up now. That tube that's going to feed the media to it. They're going to send you with this kit that has the really nice funnel that's there. You're going to notice too the wire mesh. That's to keep a lot of the junk out of it in the case that you're trying to reuse this media. We're not going to do that in these cases, especially with dustless blasting, but that option's there. So that's going to keep your leaves and rocks and everything else out of there. That's going to ultimately clog that tube. Okay. Let's just double check it one more time just to make sure. Getting started here then, once again, note the colored pictures that are there, which I can really appreciate with it. Connect the hoses with it, fill the blast pot with the abrasive. So we're going to do, just to make sure, water first, then media. Otherwise, opposite, you do it opposite, and you're basically making a sealed area down there where that water can't get to that media. So water goes in first, 5 gallons that we have through here. Let's see if I can do it without spilling it. Bucket there. I'm not much on trying to cut this thing open while it's on the ground. I like to just sit it up in there and then cut the bag once it's on the top, like actually sitting there. It's just kind of a paper plastic bag. So whenever it goes to picking up that amount of weight, it usually wants to try to bust while you're doing it if you cut it on the ground. Okay, put him inside. Of there. The final part's going to be this 8 fluid ounces that we're going to need through there. Depending how much you do, like how much you're actually mixing 2 blasts with, this will change. It'll go all the way up to 28 ounces if you're doing a full mix. Find my 8 ounces on my scale right there. This stuff is not cheap, this anti-corrosion. Really try not to spill it. That container right there is $250. Granted, it goes a long way, but it is expensive in what it's doing. So, final piece of the puzzle there. What I like to do as well is, this is a rubber gasket that's around that for helping to seal with it. I like to just kind of wipe the stuff away from it and then be able to put it there. Important note to make with this is it's going to take a lot of consistent compressed air. Our compressor up here is more than big enough, because it's a twin screw style compressor. It's moving however fast it's moving, it's creating pressure the whole time. To put it in reference, it supplies air to the entire building even while we're doing this, and everybody, there's no pressure droplets there. So are you going to do this at home with your mom and dad's 30-gallon Cobalt? No, not on this one. Okay, notice the 4 claws that you'll see here. You're going to have to get this thing lined up with pressure up and then twist over. So let's try that. Okay, final piece to the puzzle on that is going to be safety pins. I like to put 2 on here because this is where the pressure is really coming out of. So we put 2 safety pins inside of there. Next one we're going to have is the actual compressed air that's going into it. So this one only has 2 claws to take note of. A little bit easier to do than the 4 claw ones. And then it will have, where's this safety pin at? Oh, I lied. We got 1 safety pin per now. Okay, final 2 hoses will go here to the back. Somebody want to get me that 1/2-inch wrench? Thank you, Blaine. You cannot mess this up. I would come back here and see this too. You cannot mess this up because they're color coded. You're going to have a green line and a red line, and you're going to have to bend down to see it, but you'll also see them marked with a green line and a red line that's there. So it's impossible to mess that up. Don't prove me wrong on it being impossible to mess up. I just twist them on snug to begin with. Something I didn't mention before I started doing it too is, if you've seen me, you see me wiping those threads just to make sure that there's no media there. Once I get it to there, I'm just going quarter snug is all I'm doing. So there we go, quarter snug on there. Doesn't have to be horse torque tight. Sit that on the table, and the final thing I'll show you here before we put air to it is going to be the actual hose and trigger itself. Who was that? Zach, did you the one that pulled this out? Heavy, right? For what it is. It doesn't really want to move easy. That's why pull it out and get all of the loops out from underneath it. A couple things to note here of importance. One is going to be what's called a dead man switch, which is this one right here, which essentially keeps you locked out from accidentally hitting this. I drop it on the ground or something, it doesn't accidentally hit it. It stays locked out. This button here, real simple, pushes in, and now I have access to pull this thing down to operate it with it. I like to use 2 hands with it for sure. So you gotta have this hand on operation and this one here that's actually directing the media on where it's going. Let's actually talk about blasting before we turn that thing on, because it's going to get loud. There's really no options for taping things off with this because it's going to chew it away. But what I can do is I can use the direction to still get it. So if I was to set up here and blast, in some hoods you have a whole lot, or even doors, you're going to have an area that goes down, the inner structure that's there going down. That means I'm going to blast that too. I don't want to blast that down there. What's a way that I can blast the edge without blasting the bottom? Simply come to this side and work the media past the edge. I can't send media here and it come back around and blast it. So just work smarter whenever it comes to it. Use your angles to your advantage. Next thing is, everybody thinks that they need to be right here. It's not the case. Step back with it. Wide passes on areas. I'm not going across the whole hood. I usually go by body lines. So I would do this section through here, this section through here, get into the middle of it through there, and go on, going as I go. You see we got the pallet here too. I like having the pallet because it takes less abrasiveness off the concrete versus having it, and I don't want the bottom of the parts to get scratched by concrete. And you can look at it and say, well, the pallet can scratch the hood. It's true. I'm not discrediting that. Sometimes we put cardboard down for it, sometimes we don't, just depending on what we're doing there. So questions about the technique wise, because it's getting ready, but whenever we go to actually doing it, that thing will be loud. I don't want to, not really a good time to ask questions in. So any questions so far? Good.
What's the range of like the distance to stay away from the hood?
So he's asking kind of a range in inches on what I would do with that. I would say no closer than 12 inches, especially on, let's just call it steel. I wouldn't go any closer than 12 inches on that. I think most of the time you're going to see me be kind of in a 12 to 16 inch range is what I would call it, kind of through there. So anything closer than that, now we're going to take the chances of distorting the panel. To go into kind of a review of what we talked about in the classroom with that too, the problem with traditional media blasting, just sandblasting as most know it, is that you have frictional heat that's occurring. You have the air pressure, you have the media that's coming out, but whenever it's hitting that panel, it's causing the panel to heat up because of frictional heat that's occurring. Whenever that happens, the biggest concern with sandblasting has been warping of panels that's through there. You go into soda blasting, which is blasting media but with baking soda essentially. You don't have the warping, but at the same point you now have contamination of baking soda on there. PBG is a perfect example that will not support any of the refinishing products going on top of something that was soda blasted, because the chance of having baking soda left behind isn't going to cause your paint to fail. Essentially, you can't guarantee that it's not all gone with that. Bring in dustless blasting. Now we have 70% water and 30% media that's coming out of this. The water is essentially keeping us cool. We still have a ton of pressure though. If we get too close, we're going to warp. But if I stay at my distance as I should, we shouldn't see any warping that occurs whatsoever there. So, good question. Anything else? Okay, so at this point we have our air supply that's hooked up. This is going to be coming from the compressor, which for us is big tube that comes to the wall. We know where the compressor is. I am going to have to flip a valve in there, which will turn that air on. At that point, this valve here will have to be activated, so turned down, in order for anything to come out of that. Whenever it comes to shutting it down, there will be a special procedure for shutting it down. Let's make that we'll talk about that there towards the tail end though. But for right now, we should be good. So blow off valve is turned up. This thing will stay up for right now to build pressure, and then once we're ready, I will turn it down. I'm probably going to be blasting in that direction, so I would stay on this back side so you're not getting hit by stuff.
Waduh tembak.
Good. Point it where you're at. Remember, we'll have to push the dead man switch. No, you're good. Dead man switch over, and then go down like that. There you go. What's the difference? There was more pressure that was there. In reality, visually, we've seen less water kind of out of it, kind of perking out of it. And we've seen more of an atomization, I guess we'll call it, of what's happening. This is the importance of playing with your pressures to see what you're at. If I keep pressure too low, it won't perform like it's supposed to. Where else have we seen that? Paint guns, welders even, on setting up a welder. Everything has to be set up accordingly through there. So there's your difference. Okay, go ahead.
That's just fun.
Oh yeah. It can be addicting. Yes, sir. You see how fast that stripped along versus once he started getting closer, now it's a real fine line that's there. So stay back and let the fan pattern of that thing do the work. Nice. Okay, do you guys see it spitting? That kind of thump, 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 thump that's going on with it? That is it getting ready to run out. Most likely what we're going to see is it's going to quit removing media and you will just have water that's coming through it. So in preparation for that, let's understand how to properly shut this down. What's going to happen is whenever it starts to run out, you'll see me go like this. You're going to stand there with it until I get over here on what's called the blowdown valve. You keep holding the trigger. I'll hit the blowdown valve, which releases the pressure, and then I'll go like this again for you to cut it off through there. Final step we'll have to do is actually relieve all the pressure that's still coming from the compressor into here before it will release it from here, and then we can put more media in. So go ahead. Keep going. Keep holding it. What do you think? Do you remember how to take the lid off? Let's just start off with that.
Should twist off.
Okay, so before we want to do this though, should we make sure there's no pressure in this actual canister?
Yeah.
What did both of these gauges say? We had zeros?
They're empty.
Good. Okay, so lift up that lid, twist it till you find the spot. We're going to open it up. Who wants to get a bucket of water? Hose is right there. Get them a bucket of water. Somebody else, let's get the hose. Somebody else, let's pour 8 ounces in the cup. For some of you guys, if you want to see down inside of here, you kind of wave it away, but you can actually get down in there and see what it's like. Get your flashlight if you want. And that's nothing to be worried about there as the smoke or anything. That's just water vapor.
There's still some sludge down in there.
Should be, yeah. We probably have, usually what you're going to have is you'll have about half gallon of water that's going to be down inside of there, but you will still have some media. If you guys were watching, it spit a couple times really hard on quitting there, and it was kind of taking stuff away, but it was getting pretty thin at that point.
I guess so.
Okay, go ahead and put our funnel in there. Somebody getting our 8 ounces? Golly. Well, 3 gallons, I guess.
I'll give you 4 and 4.
You jinxed me, man.
Okay, bag of media. So we got a pocket knife on them to be able to open it?
I got a flashlight.
Halfway there. Okay, let's set them up inside of that. If you guys want a more up-close look at what I'm doing here, so you see Gustav sitting inside of there, then just slid it around the bottom through here. Okay, and then you're going to slowly pit that up and watch that dump into there. There you go. This will hold 20 gallons of water and 4 bags of media, which is going to give us a rough run time of about 60 minutes is what it is. There is a smaller version of this one that had a 30-minute run time, but we were thankful enough to get the hour-long run time. Go ahead.
I didn't spill it.
Good. Barely. If you're wondering, well, why didn't we just put in 2 bags? It's tough to guess on how you guys are going to operate this, especially you see some of you guys that are like 3 foot away. You're using twice as much material to take off the same stuff as if you're at proper distance, which isn't a big deal today. We're learning with it, but that's really what comes into play. This hood, in reality, should have been blasted with 1 bag, and we probably would have had a little bit left over. Yeah, it's just part of the learning curve. Okay, we got water in the bottom first. We got our media also inside of it. And then we've got our anti-corrosion compound, our rust inhibitor in there as well. Go ahead and shut her tight. Then twist it over. Perfect. All right, at this point here, go ahead and get your safety gear on. Go in there, turn on the air, and at that point, we're ready to go again through there. Goose is doing a good job because we're not quite done yet. So he's going to get that panel. Let's just focus on the hood as the only one we'll worry about. He's going to get the hood rinsed off. But what do we still have to put on? What this has to have for rust inhibitor per gallon is 1.5 ounces. What works as a really good and easy way to apply just that is by putting it in one of these weed dispensers, like what you can use, really kind of like more like a liquid fertilizer type thing that you might see at home. I even have it written on there, 1.5 ounces per gallon. It's preset with this dial on the very top that's through here. See how it's going to apply it through there then. So we're going to go through. We've already, oh, I'm out of room. Going to go through. He's already rinsed off all the heavy debris that might be on there. And now I'm just going to take it through. I want to make sure that this is on there liberally. I want to make sure it's on there all the way. If I'm in doubt, I'm going to put more on it. This is what's going to save me from corroding or not. We got that through there. At that point, we would take this hood inside and actually blow it all off. Now, blowing it all off, we don't just want, oh, it's mostly dry. It has to be completely dry. Otherwise, there's still moisture present on a raw substrate. It will corrode is what it's going to do. Questions about that? Super simple, super easy to do. Now we're on to the fun part, which will be cleanup. This is where that 3/4 inch is going to come back in handy again. There's 2 tabs that'll be over here if you didn't get to see those up close. You guys can pass those around to be able to see specifically what they look like. Okay, there's the next one.
Threads are tight.
All right, so whenever we do this, we're going to see probably some water come out at first, a little bit of chunky stuff. See that coming out? What we'll do, you guys watching? What we're going to do is see where I can lift up on this thing. I'll keep pumping it until we get just water coming out of there. See it starting to flow itself out now?
It wouldn't come out of the hose.
You still had a little bit left. We just didn't have much to blast anymore. Here you go. We'll toss this. All right, so there's going to be that nozzle piece that goes inside. We'll get him rinsed out too at some point. So at that point, the water is out, but I want to rinse out this chamber that's inside of here too. So we're going to need that garden hose over here, Destiny. Whenever it comes to rinsing it, you can actually see in there really well. If you guys didn't get to see it already and you want to see inside of it. But whenever she rinses this out, I want the throat of it done here. I also want water pointed up. I want all of that to get rinsed down to the bottom.
All right.
I've put this thing back together after having it wet, and I've done it without it being wet, and I feel it does better whenever you just leave it out to air dry through there. It kind of gets corroded, especially where this guy seats up inside of that. You can see that corrosion on him. I found it's easier just to leave it out of it. This guy's rinsed off. Sit him on his spot, but not in his spot. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Don't sit it down in there. So then our bucket that we put our water in, this bucket remains designated just for blasting stuff. We're going to put loose parts, anti-corrosion, funnel on top, and it's ready to get put away. Which everything with a dustless blaster just goes here in the corner. So once they get the other hose rolled up, we'll stick it in there right here. Then the dustless blaster goes in to sit right here, and then the bucket usually just sits wherever it's got a place close inside of there. The book, I just keep the book right here on top of the fire extinguisher. Is the easiest place to keep it.